This is sportsbookreview.com. I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And this is the College Football Show Week 7. And this is the flagship show. This is where it all goes down. We got some big games to talk about this week. A little disappointing morning slate, but we got weeknight football all week long. There's a reason we do this on Tuesday. It's because we got games on Wednesday. We got games on Thursday. We got games on Friday. And then a full slate on Saturday. I was like, what is that noise? What am I hearing? If you would do us a favor, go over to sbrpicks.com/NCAAF. We've got a great team here at Sportsbook Review. They are deep diving on all the different games this weekend. It's the best content you can find on the internet. I'd almost guarantee that. Almost. And if you would so kindly hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave some comments. Go ahead and jump in. We've got a bunch of guys already in the chat. We've got State 88. Talks about all the games we're going to cover. And he said Liberty at Syracuse. That's the game that needs to be covered this week. All right, we're going to do that. We're going to get into it. Anthony De Silva said Clemson minus 26.5 at Georgia Tech is the lock of the week. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Tom Lowe said get it rolling. Khalif Peso said he's waiting on the hottest college football show on YouTube. That is what I'm talking about. You guys keep bringing this stuff in. Jump in the comments. Let us know your thoughts on this week's games. With that said, let's jump into the Week 6 recap. And last week, not so good. Not great. I went 4-3.
Another winning week?
Yeah, a winning week. But, you know, when I give out 7, I want 5-2. I want good stuff, right? So
I just want a winning week.
I went 4-3 last week. I'm 23-15-1 on the season. That is better than 60% against the number. So I feel pretty good about that. Chris, 3-7 last week.
Thank God for the Ole Miss Alabama game.
Had a shot there at the end to get it to 4-6.
Notre Dame let me down, but that's all right.
Chris is currently 14-24. So for those of you that don't believe that his picks are valuable, I think you understand that you can fade as well, and you would be 24-14 right now. That'd be better than me. So I'm just saying, there is a way that you can turn this into a positive. However, Chris is not far enough down the hole that he can't pick himself back out of it. He's got some picks. I've got some picks. We're going to get into all of that. No worries at all. If you would, you can go back and look at our picks from last Tuesday on last week's show. Give us another view. Help us out. Do all those things. If you would, again, share out the show. Tell your friends about it. Like this video. And make sure you are subscribed. We do this every Tuesday. Same time every week. And then on Saturday, we go live at 11 a.m. Eastern time for the closing line show. Let's jump into the biggest game of the week and maybe the biggest game of the season thus far. Let's talk Georgia and Alabama. Alabama is a 6-point favorite as we sit here currently. I believe it's 6. Hey, we got some 6.5s on the board. Okay, so money is coming back in. According to SBRodds.com, it is 50-50. The ticket count is 50%, both sides. The total opened at 56. It is sitting currently at 57. Why this is going up, I'm not sure.
I think most people saw that Alabama-Ole Miss game and think this is going to be a high-scoring affair.
I suppose, but man, it's a little strange.
I disagree with them.
The prediction tracker, which I bring up every single week, they are the analytic gurus. They take everybody's analytics from across the board, everybody that's involved in the science behind the numbers of football, and they take the average of their picks and they toss it out there. Here's what the analytics say that it should be. And they've got Alabama favored by 1.3 points, which that would mean a Georgia cover. If you look at this, Alabama has been a home favorite of less than 10 points 6 times since 2011. They're 3-3 straight up and against the spread in those spots. It's not great.
So Chris Felica, friend of ours, shared out the last 8 times Alabama has been a favorite less than 7 points.
Yep.
They are 3-5, lost the last 3. That's all straight up.
Yep.
1-7 against the spread.
Those include playoff games and bowl games.
Why would you not include all the games?
Oh, great, because I'm just talking about home games right now. That's my number is home games. So I'm looking at regular season.
I don't like fudging numbers to make the stars and moon align to where you want it.
Well, I totally understand that. Totally understand. That's a really good tweet. And I saw him tweet that out earlier. I should have written it down. Alabama with the SP+, and that is an efficiency metric. So just efficiency across the board. Success rate, explosiveness, all that. Alabama, the number 1 most efficient offense in the country. Georgia, the number 1 most efficient defense in the country. Georgia gives up 3.7 yards per play. Alabama gains 8.66 yards per play. Those are both at number 1 in their metrics. So pretty crazy. Alabama with the SP Plus number 22 defense, they give up 6.01 yards per play, and that number was skewed drastically last weekend.
Yeah, but your defensive numbers or your offensive numbers are skewed because of
Ole Miss as well. Yes, yeah. Agreed. In Georgia, their SP Plus on offense is number 42. They are averaging 5.27 yards per play. If you go through, first off, big storyline here, Kirby Smart and Scott Cochran, their first times back to Tuscaloosa since they both left.
Correct.
And went over to Georgia. The other side of this, Georgia is statistically worse this year on offense than they were last year. And everybody talked about how awful that offense was last season, but they have manhandled people this year. Now, it's not like they're going against chumps, but I don't know that they're necessarily going against the best of the best either. And it's the same with Alabama. This is a true barometer, and this is the first time in a long time that it feels like, okay, this game is just the precursor to what we are probably going to get in December. This game means something, but it doesn't necessarily mean everything because the loser of this game can still get a rematch.
Correct.
So it makes it a little bit different, right? With Alabama LSU, when we had those massive games, it was always, hey, there ain't no rematches.
No, the winner of this game is going to Atlanta, and the loser's not.
Yes, and that's the bottom line. This one, however, you could both still get there. Samuel Rogers jumps in, said, lay those points with Bama, roll tide, it's not going to be close. State said, wow, such a high-stakes game with Georgia and Alabama so early in the season. Here's the thing. Again, I mean, it's high stakes. You don't want to lose it, but how important is it really?
It's a big game, but this one doesn't matter if you think you're going to repeat.
Yeah, if you think you're going to get back to Atlanta, then we'll see what happens there, you know? Stetson Bennett, not great, but he has been much improved over what else they have, right? He is not as good as Jake Fromm. Mac Jones has looked really good. How good is he against a defense like this? We haven't seen it yet. So that's what I'm curious about. I love the idea of this. I tend to think it will be closer to last year's LSU Georgia game in Atlanta, which was the last. Hold on, not a blowout though, because I think Alabama's defense is worse than LSU's was last year.
Yeah, a lot worse.
I think because Georgia wants to play tempo, they want to do this. If they fall behind, they are in major trouble in the spot. I am looking at a 31-20 kind of game. I think the under hits, not necessarily easily, but
I think the under hits pretty easily.
I think the under hits, and I think that Alabama ends up covering because I think that Alabama's got too much firepower and Georgia doesn't. Yeah. But, I mean, we'll see. The last 2 times these teams have played, it's come down to the very end of the game.
Yeah.
The last 30 seconds.
If I had we're making picks on this game, I would pick Georgia and then the under.
That makes sense. I would take Alabama to cover the 6, and I would take the under because I absolutely think these are 2 teams that are incredibly prideful, and they want to play smash mouth. They want to get into a phone booth, as you would say, and beat each other up. That's what they want to do. And since they both want to do that, I think it's more likely we will get that kind of a game. I don't foresee a shootout.
But if you do that, you're not stopping Georgia. Your only way you're stopping Georgia is if Georgia tries to throw the football.
Yeah.
Because we've seen Ole Miss's offensive line far inferior to Georgia's. Georgia's ran the ball down your throat. I don't think that's going to change.
Let's see. Imari Andrews said, I like Alabama money line. Dominic Rotella said, Georgia sprinkle the money line. And State said, I keep forgetting how bad Alabama defense was last week. Not typical Alabama. Again, you won't see that kind of offense from Georgia.
No, Georgia won't be able to put that kind of offense up, but I still think Georgia can run the football on you.
So interesting stat about that. I know we've spent a long time on this already, but it is the biggest game of the year thus far. Georgia only averaging 3.6 yards per carry this year. They have not been great.
I think the run defenses they've played are a lot better than yours.
You might be right.
I think Tennessee's run defense and Auburn's run defense are a lot better than yours.
See, here's the thing. Tennessee's run defense, not that great against South Carolina. Not that great against who else do they play?
Kentucky. Missouri, yeah.
And then Auburn, same thing. Auburn allowed Arkansas to run all over them, even without Boyd. So we're still so early in the season. I cannot wait to watch this game. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. These are two coaches that do not like each other. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a great game. So we've already given out our picks on that. Let's move into the next big game of the day, and that would be LSU going to Florida. That is a 4 p.m. Eastern time kick on ESPN, and they moved that time back 30 minutes. Do you see that? Because, the Oklahoma State Baylor game got postponed, so that completely threw off ESPN and ABC schedules. ESPN was supposed to have North Carolina and Florida State. They moved that over to ABC. It just rearranged everything. Yep. So they're trying to fill in time gaps, and that's what they ended up doing is they moved LSU Florida back. Not only 30 minutes, but nothing crazy. Florida is an 11.5-point favorite. The total sits at 73 right now, and you can obviously go shop for the lines. Do yourself a favor. Go over to sbrpicks.com/NCAAF. Up in the top of that screen there, it's going to have a little bar that says odds on it. You click on that, and then you can find your college football odds. Very easy to do because you want to shop for these lines. There are 12s out there. I think there's a 12.5. I think there's all kinds of stuff. Because
I didn't see a 12.5, but I definitely saw a 12.
This line yesterday was at 14.
Yes, yesterday was 14.
And now we have found out that Florida has some COVID issues. They have 5 guys that have tested positive. They have contact traced 19 guys. Is that right?
Yep. As of right now, there are 19.
And so we don't know exactly who's playing and who's not for Florida. Even if it was everybody playing, I still thought that number was insane because LSU can absolutely score.
That's right.
They may not be able to stop anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, they were able to stop Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt ain't Florida. So
that's right.
The numbers over at Prediction Tracker tell you Florida should be favored by 5.82 points. And that's if everybody plays that's supposed to be playing. LSU 0-3-1 against the spread versus Florida over the last 4 years. Florida is 5-2 against the spread, their last 7 at home against LSU. And if you look at just the yards per play, these numbers are insane. Florida averaging 7.4 yards per play. LSU's defense is giving up 6.7 yards per play. LSU's offense, 6.7 yards per play. Florida's defense giving up 6.1. Neither is very good. Florida, thus far, statistically better against better competition. But I still seem, in my head, I can't envision LSU being this bad.
They're not.
That's the thing, right? Like, I would imagine they would show up for a game like this. I feel like against Missouri, they thought it was just going to be a cakewalk.
Yeah.
And they didn't wake up.
You could look at a lot of things. I have no idea. The defense is obviously not good. Okay.
Yeah.
They're not going to get a whole lot better this week. But they can score with anybody.
Well, and the defense can show a little pride.
I think they can make stops. I don't know that they can stop drives.
Yeah, I don't know that they'll completely stop drives, but I think they can show a little more pride than they did against Missouri. That's an 11 a.m. game on the road that was supposed to be a night game at home. Sometimes you just don't wake up for those games, right? We've seen it time and time again. That's when you are most likely to be upset, is when you were the favored team on the road in the morning. So that's kind of a typical spot. However, LSU's defense it looked like Alabama's defense.
Yeah.
It looked like Florida's defense. Out of position, missed
guys
assignments,
wide open,
missing tackles, like very fundamental basic stuff that just has not come to fruition this year. But I have to assume that they will show up for this game. Now, I know that Florida's going to show up as well because, they got beat last week. And one more loss and you're pretty much done here.
That's right.
So give me your thoughts here. Where do we go?
No, I think LSU is going to cover this number. I think it's way too big. I think when it got to 14, it was just complete disrespect. I think our offense is going to be fine. I think we're going to score points. I'm a little afraid of the over just because I think Vegas says all of these sports books have taken a bath on overs lately, and I think they're starting to inflate these lines pretty aggressive to prevent that. But if you told me to make a pick, I'd take the over. I'd take the Tigers. I'd take the over.
I mean, that kind of makes sense. So total of 73. I mean, what's our if Florida were to get to?
I mean, both these teams hitting the 40s wouldn't surprise me at all.
Like a 38-31 game would not hit the over, but no. That's kind of what I feel like this game would be.
Man, I don't know. One of these teams staying at 31 I think would be a fail on that offense because these defenses aren't real good.
I mean, maybe so. Like that's the thing. Is every SEC defense is going to give up 40 a game now? Like, is it turned to that?
I mean, yeah, we're no better than the Big 12. We made fun of them for a long time.
Yeah, the Big 12,
and now we got to eat that.
That's crazy.
We're crazy. Big 12 football.
I would probably take LSU. I would take the under. I think it's a principle thing.
This is in my gambling picks.
Okay,
the LSU pick.
Let's go ahead and move on. Game number 3 here, and it is the biggest G5 game of the day, I believe, because it's an elimination game.
Yes,
and that is Central Florida, UCF, traveling to Memphis. They're going to the Liberty Bowl. It's a 3:30 p.m. Eastern time game on ABC.
Both these teams already have a conference loss.
Yes, they do.
That's a big deal.
That is a massive deal.
Rare when these teams match up. Do they both already have a loss?
UCF, a 3.5-point favorite as we stand right now. The total is 75. Now, in most years, I would think that this should be 82.
Yeah,
85 should be the total here. But this year's a little bit different. Things have gone much different for Memphis, especially. Yes. Central Florida was upset at home against Tulsa most recently. The prediction tracker numbers say the analytics tell them that Central Florida should be favored by less than a point.
That scares me a little.
Little weird. Central Florida 10-0 in their last 10 straight up against Memphis. 3-1 against the spread in the last 4. However, the only not cover was in the Liberty Bowl. They won 31-30. They were favored by 5 at that point, and that was 2 seasons ago. Central Florida 2-5 against the spread. Their last 7 as a road favorite. They're only 4-3 straight up. Those 3 losses last year. We remember, I think, pretty much all of them fairly well. You know, Cincinnati, Tulsa, and whatnot. Memphis 3-1 against the spread. Their last 4 as a home dog. But they are 0-4 against the spread, their last 4 as an underdog. That is not good. No. I don't know what to do here. I'm going to lean the under. It's not going to be an official play for me. But I like the under if for no other reason than Memphis is not playing tempo this season.
Yeah, I don't know if that scares me. I'd still like the over.
That's it. And that's totally fair.
I'm not going to play. Fair. It's not an official play, but I like the over. I think Memphis is still scoring a lot of points just because you're not going tempo. Doesn't mean you're not scoring a lot of points.
Well, they only put up 27 on SMU.
Alabama didn't go tempo against Ole Miss last week, and they put up 60 points.
I mean, that's true. That's true.
You don't have to play tempo to score a lot.
I think UCF's defense is actually better than Ole Miss's.
That probably is, but I'm just telling you, BYU has scored in the 80s this year, and they don't play tempo.
That's true.
They just running plays. They're
That's
just
true.
running plays really, really well.
Samuel Rogers jumps in on YouTube, said UCF by 10, my favorite play for the weekend. Anthony DeSilva said, yes, I like UCF to win as well, plus the over.
Guys, hating on our Memphis Tigers.
It's all good.
I like that.
Let's see. UCF, this is State 88. UCF has had 2 weeks to stew about their loss to Tulsa. Memphis no longer has Norvell. I see UCF getting this win. And then he said Coastal Carolina beat Arkansas State by 29, whereas Memphis only beat them by 13. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I would like to lean Memphis because we are in the Mid-South.
Yeah.
That's right in our backyard. I kind of like UCF here. But we'll see. I mean, crazier stuff has happened this year. Crazier stuff has indeed happened. Let's move on. Game number 4, BYU. Brigham Young University traveling to Houston, and they're going to play on Friday night. That's right, weeknight football. This is the late game on Friday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN. The total sits at 63. BYU is currently favored at the time of us doing this show live. They are favored by 5 points. Last night, when I was looking over lines, prepping, they were favored by 3.
So this line opened at 4.5.
Got all the way down to 3.
It got bet down.
And
now it's back up.
So if you look at the prediction tracker analytics, BYU should be favored by 7.5 points.
Yeah, but how much of those numbers are skewed?
See, that's the thing,
because
right? I don't
BYU
know.
Beat the hell out of so many. Like if you have any model whatsoever, you have such a small sample size for Houston, and you have a huge sample size of BYU, and in that sample size, they beat the hell out of everybody but one team.
Yeah, and that one
feel
team
like that jacks up models bad.
That one team was the week before this game, which is BYU's biggest game since their opener.
Yeah, I don't know how models work, but I gotta think that there's no math formula to help you dumb down BYU's numbers.
I agree. Their numbers have made no sense all season.
That's right.
It's absolutely insane. Houston, their turnover margin against Tulane last week. They gave the ball to Tulane 5 times. They did not get a single turnover, and
Still
they
beat the hell out of them.
Still won by 18 points. That you may never find that happen again. Tulane is not that bad. So is Houston actually this good? Hey, by the way, good luck trying to find a trend to go in either team's favor here.
Yeah.
BYU 1-7 against the spread their last 8 as a road favorite. Houston 1-3 against the spread their last 4 as a home dog.
But both of them look unbelievable.
That's the thing.
And look like they're killing people.
I'm going to
tell you the play in this game. The play in this game is the over. Both these teams are going to score 62.5, not enough. 63, not enough.
I think you're probably right. I think you're
both
probably right.
Both these teams
are
well into the 30s.
I kind of liked BYU when it was 3. Yeah, I'm getting a little iffy.
I am not touching this side at all.
I'll tell you what.
Can't figure it out.
I'll be watching the game.
I want to watch every minute of it.
Yes, I will be watching the game.
This will be one of the first times I would rather watch this game than the Thursday night football game, NFL game.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this thing is going to be fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. All right, last big game is North Carolina traveling to Florida State. North Carolina, a 13.5-point favorite. Currently, this is a 7:30 p.m. Eastern time game on ABC. The total sits at 63.5. Something tells me that that's not going to be enough points. Now, we'll see what happens, obviously. These things are a crapshoot at this point. Prediction Tracker Analytics says that North Carolina should be favored by 16.5 points. Now, I think that Florida State has gotten better as the season has progressed. I think they've got a quarterback in Jordan Travis now. The lines looked okay against Notre Dame. It was not as bad as the first few weeks. I will say that. They seem to be, improving.
They're getting better every week.
They're getting better.
They are getting better every week.
And they're at home in a primetime spot, national TV audience, and you've got North Carolina favored by 13.5. I'm a little weird about that. North Carolina, now here's the mismatch, right? This is what everybody's pointing to. North Carolina, number 1 in FBS in EPA per rush on offense. Now that is expected points added. It is a metric that includes success rate and explosivity, right? Number 1 in all of football in that metric. Florida State is 3rd from last on the defensive side of that metric.
I'm not worried about that.
So, and now Florida State, their quarterback that we have talked so glowingly about, injured himself towards the end of the Notre Dame game. They had to bring in James Blackman. Blackman didn't look great. But Travis came back in. So we think he's going to be fine. They're saying he's day-to-day. I would imagine he will be playing in this spot. So we won't even consider that.
He finished the game.
Florida State 1-3 as a home underdog, and they are 2-7-1 against the spread as an underdog over the last 3 seasons.
The last 3 seasons have been a debacle.
This season has been a debacle.
This season's been a debacle, but they seem to have righted the ship some.
Yes, they covered last week. So of those 2 out of the 10 that they covered, last week was one of them.
One was last week.
So
they found an offense 2 weeks ago at the end of the game.
So I'm not going to say that it's a trend yet, but the last 2 weeks for Florida State have been not impressive, but improved.
Improved. Well, you can't be impressive when you're way down here in the bottom of a barrel of shit. You gotta crawl before you walk.
Exactly. I think the bottom was Florida State losing to Miami the way that they did.
Yeah.
So I would lean Florida State here.
I like Florida State here.
I'm not giving that out as a play.
I am.
Because I think North Carolina could absolutely blow the brakes off of them.
They probably could. There's a world in which that happens. But there's a world in which if Florida State continually gets better every week, then they don't have to get a lot better to just keep this within 2 touchdowns.
Or keep it within 10 points, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
I mean, you could see like a 34-23 kind of game or whatever. But I think it's going to be much higher scoring than that. I personally think so.
But if it's higher scoring, then that means Florida State's offense is doing well, which means I lend them to a better opportunity to cover.
Agreed.
If it's a low-scoring game, Yeah,
Florida State will have a chance to be
North Carolina beat the hell out of them.
No, you're right about that. You are right about that. Let's move into the interesting games portion. This is kind of our rapid fire here. Samuel Rogers, by the way, said North Carolina is going to roll Florida State. They suck. They're awful. So, hey, they did at the beginning of the year. But you know, it is what it is. So moving into the interesting games, we're going to first talk about the Wednesday night game. Coastal Carolina and Louisiana. Louisiana, a 7.5-point favorite. Total is 58.5. That is 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. The analytics say ULL by 9. Thoughts?
Yeah, that's too many points, I believe.
I think so too. I think the analytics are wrong.
I think the analytics are wrong.
Coastal Carolina is fantastic. Jamie Chadwell's offense is so much fun.
Yeah.
I don't think he's part of the Willie Fritz tree, but it's very similar, that offense, to that.
Do you think they can win the game?
I think Coastal can absolutely win the game. Yes, I certainly do.
Would you have them in a round robin?
Oh, man. Yeah, maybe.
Because you're going to get really good odds on that.
Yeah, I think so. I hate having a Wednesday game and having to wait, right?
I don't know. That don't worry about me. I mean, I'm going to play 6 different games. I mean, it doesn't matter if one happens on Wednesday.
Absolutely have them in a round robin. Yeah, I think so. I think they're good enough to win the game.
I'm mentally putting together my round robin and trying to come up with 6 games, and I think they're one.
That makes sense. Moving on, SMU travels to Tulane, going down to Nolens. 6 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN on Friday. SMU favored by 6.5 right now. Total is 65, and the prediction tracker analytics say that SMU should be favored by 5.5. Now, SMU is without their number 1 wide receiver, Reggie Roberson. They are without their number 2 running back, TJ McDaniel. Tulane has not looked good by any stretch of the imagination for an entire game. We'll say that. But they have looked good in halves. Are they good enough at home to be able to handle SMU?
No.
I don't know if they are or not. I don't know what SMU is without these weapons.
Listen, I do. They're going to find other weapons, and those weapons are going to look great. Because that's what Sonny Dykes does.
Now, that is true. That is true. I wonder about this. You know, Willie Fritz has a way of sneaking up on people, but this year has not been good.
Willie Fritz has had a way of pissing me off this year.
Willie Fritz's quarterback is not good. And that's where the offense has run into problems. Is they've got like
the easiest play in the world is to watch the first half of this football game. And if Tulane looks really good, you bet the house against them in the second half.
That's probably
if
correct.
They look really bad, then you bet some on them in the second half.
There you go. There you go.
Because they're not going to play 2 halves of good football. The problem is there a world in which they play 2 halves of bad football? Bad teams can do that.
I think it's more likely that happens as opposed to 2 good halves.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. That's why I said bet the house on one and bet little on the other.
There you go.
I don't believe there's a world where they're going to play 2 good ones.
Let's move into the SEC. We're moving to Saturday morning. Auburn traveling to Columbia, South Carolina to face the Gamecocks. Auburn sits at a 3.5-point favorite pretty much across the board right now. And the total is 51.5. Now, prediction tracker analytics say that Auburn should be favored by 5.08. You and I are both trying to figure out whether or not the correct team is favored in this spot.
Yeah.
South Carolina has looked good.
Yes, they've looked fine. And I'm not letting Vanderbilt skew that number.
No.
Let's take the Vanderbilt game out.
Yeah, against Tennessee and against Florida.
2 teams that we think are pretty good. One team the country thinks is good.
Yes.
And the other team we think is okay. They looked a lot better than I thought they were going to look to start the season.
Auburn got outplayed by Kentucky at home, and I'm not going to say they were saved by an officiating call, but everybody in the world knows that kid was in the end zone.
Yeah.
So either way, they get the Kentucky game because Kentucky turns the ball over 3 times. Auburn gets the Arkansas game, even though they fumble at the end of the game, because the refs magically blow a whistle and say they can't review it. And no, it wasn't a clear cover, and not, whatever. They win those 2, but they got absolutely housed by Georgia.
They realistically should be sitting 0-3.
Pretty much.
In a world.
Yeah. I don't think Auburn is that good. I think South Carolina has played better than expected. I think their offense is actually efficient. I think their defense is pretty good.
I like South Carolina.
I like South Carolina a lot. This won't be a play for me.
Yeah.
But I am absolutely going to have them in a round robin.
Yeah, I'll have some money on South Carolina. I'll have them in a round robin probably, but It scares me because I'm waiting for Auburn to show up. I mean, there's a little bit of that in how bad LSU's played defensively. I'm just holding out hope that I'm going to turn the TV on and one day it's going to look like I think it's supposed to look.
There is a world where Bo Nix is just not a good quarterback.
I know. You keep telling me that.
There is a world.
I just don't know that I believe that.
Well, he hadn't shown.
I'm not living in that world yet.
He's had, let's see, 13 games last year and 3 this year, so 16 games to show you, and
man,
still hadn't shown
coming in hard. South Carolina is trash.
I hadn't even
Trash.
seen.
What have you seen to make them be trash?
Who knows?
Why they got to be trash?
I wish that I knew.
What they do to you?
Well, Goob72, and I hope we said that right. Sorry. Like, I just don't buy it. I don't think South Carolina's trash at all. Moving on, going to the AAC, we talked about this a little bit. Cincinnati and Tulsa. Cincinnati, a 3-point favorite. Total is 44. And this one's at 12 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN2. Prediction Tracker says that Tulsa should be favored by half of a point.
Another one of these noon games where the road team's favored, and I love the road team.
Yeah, I agree. I agree here.
I know all the smart guys, all the computer guys are going to tell me I'm wrong, but I think Cincinnati's going to beat the hell out of them.
I think Tulsa was a matchup nightmare for Central Florida. I think Tulsa looked really good against an Oklahoma State team who was not prepared to play with their third-string quarterback and to not have their star wide receiver for a good portion of the game.
I think the Cincinnati offensive line is better than Oklahoma State's.
I think so as well. I think this Cincinnati,
I think
UCF. The Cincy defensive line as well.
Well, yes, I was going to get to that side of the ball next.
I love Cincy in this spot.
I do too.
Absolutely love Cincy. That's one of our official plays. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Kendrick Thomas jumped in. Cincy should win by a touchdown.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I agree. Or more.
Or more. I just think this is a smash mouth game that Tulsa's not ready for. I think Tulsa is no longer playing this air raid system, and they're slowing the game down. They're trying to play defense, and that's great. Listen, you're just starting that this year. These boys in Cincinnati have been doing that for a long time. Yeah. This is not a team you want to pick a fist fight with.
No, you're right about that.
I like Cincinnati. I think they are a tough football team. Oklahoma and UCF play very much the same style of football. Yeah. Cincinnati don't play that style.
No. Cincy is they're going to hit you in the mouth. Yeah. They're going to hit you in the mouth. Moving on to the SEC, speaking of old school slobber knockers, Kentucky and Tennessee. Tennessee a 6-point favorite right now, and the total is 46. 12 p.m. Eastern time on the SEC Network. Prediction Tracker says Tennessee should be favored by 5.6 points. Now, I don't think Tennessee is as bad as they looked last week.
No. I think Georgia's really good.
I think Kentucky outplayed Auburn, and it just goes to show that without the extreme talent, if you turn the football over 3 times, you will get beat by 2 touchdowns against a good team.
But here's the problem. Kentucky's kind of turned the ball over a lot in all these games.
Well, except for last week.
Well, they're not against State. Not against State.
Where
they did give up a safety against State, though. Yes. That offense makes a lot of mistakes.
Yes, they do. Which is why I would lean to Tennessee being able to cover this game, because I talked to you about this before we came on the show, and that is Tennessee is at a weird spot, right? Because they were at the bottom of the SEC, and there's basically 3 tiers. There's the bottom tier, there's the middle tier, and then there's the championship status contender.
Yeah,
right. That level, and everybody thought they could just shoot from the bottom right back up to the top.
No,
and that's not how this thing goes.
It's going to take years to get there.
You got to get back to that middle. So in the middle, where they had that 8-game winning streak, they beat Kentucky once, they beat Missouri once, they beat South Carolina twice. They beat they weren't beating great teams, but they were establishing that, hey, we are the top of this middle tier. And once you go to Georgia in kind of your prove it spot, if you are coming back home and you got to play against Kentucky, you have to maintain.
You got to win this game.
That middle tier spot. And that's where there's pressure right here.
You don't win this game, you're not in that middle tier. You're back down where we thought you were.
Yes. So I like Tennessee to cover here because I think the game means a lot. However, it is a sandwich spot.
It's a game I'm staying away from completely.
Oh, yeah. It's a sandwich spot here because Tennessee's got Alabama next week.
I don't know that Tennessee's looking at Alabama right now. They're not good at – listen, let me give all these teams just a touch of advice, okay? In a world of COVID, we don't know that we're going to play 2 weeks from now, but we know we're going to play this week. Let's play this week like it's the last game of the season, can we? Because we're not 100% positive that 2 weeks from now we're all going to be here.
Boys got a point.
Can we just do that? In a normal year, I get teams look at the calendar and they circle certain games and they see 6 weeks from now they're going to do this and they got a wedding to go to here and listen. Let's throw away the year-long calendar and let's work 7 days in front of us.
I agree. 100%.
Just a little advice.
So that's why I think Tennessee covers the spread.
I think so.
It's not a play for me.
Your point about this is the prove-it game for them is exactly right.
Yeah, last week was
they belong. Last week
was can we prove it? This week is we have to win this.
If they win that game last week, they're still not in the championship tier. They're just solidly in the middle tier. And if they lose this week, it's a letdown, but they're still in the middle tier. Losing last week, to maintain,
now you have to win.
You have to win the rest of these games. You've gotten through Florida, you've gotten through Georgia. You got to win the rest of the East.
Yes, you do. Absolutely do. A game that you love this week. We'll move on to this one. Ole Miss traveling to Fayetteville, Arkansas to face off against the Razorbacks. Ole Miss sitting at a 3-point favorite. You can find 2.5 in some spots as well. So make sure you shop for those lines. Of course, sbrpicks.com/NCAAF. Look, the total is 76.5.
My play in my brain all week has been just all year. Ole Miss in the over, Ole Miss in the over, Ole Miss in the over.
Like we're just going to take it blindly until Vegas caught up and said, none of these games may go under 80. Like
I'm a little worried about the over because I'm kind of worried that Arkansas is going to score their share of them.
I agree.
Is that wrong of me?
No, because
Arkansas has it. Listen, they've played really well 3 games of football. In all of those games, they still hadn't scored really well.
Caliph Peso jumps in and says Felipe Franks has something to prove. I don't think that's it.
Well, I mean, he does. The problem is he's never proved anything.
Yeah, he does every week. Let's see. Chad Nelson jumped in. All my numbers and metrics point to take Tulsa +3. Yeah, your metrics tell you that, but you've only got 2 games worth of metrics. I mean, it's short-sighted right now. As far as matchups go, Cincinnati is the better football team, but anything can happen at 11 a.m. on a Saturday morning. Right. So with Ole Miss and Arkansas, the thing that freaks me out about this in the over here is that these two offensive coordinators know each other incredibly well.
Yeah.
Look, Kendall Briles is the offensive coordinator at Arkansas. He was the offensive coordinator for Lane Kiffin in his first season at FAU, and then he went to Florida State, and then he went to now he's at Arkansas, right? So they know each other insanely well. As a matter of fact, when Lane Kiffin got this job, he called Kendall Briles to come over to Oxford with him. He told him, I want you to come to Ole Miss. And he said, Arkansas's got more money.
Yep.
I'm gonna take this Arkansas job. But, hey, you know who you should call is Jeff Lebby, my brother-in-law, that's down at UCF. He said, okay, they run kind of the same thing. They all love tempo. They all love misdirection. They all love the zone blocking schemes. They all do the same stuff. Neither of these defenses is really up to snuff compared to the offenses. However, Arkansas isn't quite to where Ole Miss is as far as offensive skill talent and whatnot yet.
Somebody's in here busting up Felipe Franks, puffing him up. Listen, yes, he was a top recruit coming out of high school. He was there in Florida. What I know about Felipe Franks is going to turn the ball over at least 3 times.
I mean, I can't argue. Like I think Felipe Franks
he's a really good football player.
I think he's looked good this year.
He's a really good, but he looked good at Florida, and I never was afraid of betting against him.
That is true. He made key mistakes now
because he's gonna give you the ball in bad situations,
and
they're gonna be backed up at it. I'm telling you, there's not a defense in the country that's holding this team below 35, 40 points.
I'm talking about Ole Miss.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Ole Miss.
So we got to figure out whether or not Arkansas can score that. So are we
second best team in the SEC?
Are we rolling the over?
If you make me play it, I'm playing the over.
Man, Caliph Peso.
One more time into the drink, I'm going Ole Miss in the over.
Caliph said, "Sounds like Ole Miss over the points." Yeah, probably. All right, staying in the SEC. We've got 2 more of these games, and then I'm going to toss in 2 bonus ones. And for our guys in the back that are producing and whatnot, I'll explain momentarily. You don't have to put up a graphic for it, but we got some guys that have hit us up and want us to talk about these. But Texas A&M and Mississippi State. Let's go down to Starkville. Let's talk about that one. Texas A&M minus 6.5 and the total of 54 here. I'm surprised that this line is this low with as bad as State has looked. I don't understand it. Prediction Tracker says that A&M should be favored by 4 points. This seem weird?
I have no idea about either one of these teams.
Like, this is a letdown spot. But
I've been insanely wrong on Mississippi State. Like, bigly chesty wrong on Mississippi State.
I don't know what Texas A&M we're going to get. Is it the A&M that scored 17 points against Vanderbilt at home? Is it the A&M that got beat by 4 touchdowns at Alabama? Or is it the A&M that scored 41 points and upset a top 3 Florida team? Who are we going to get?
But we got the same problem with Mississippi State.
Well, Mississippi State has looked bad 2 consecutive weeks.
2 weeks in a row, that offense has done nothing.
And LSU, the team that they did put up a bunch of points on.
Everybody's putting up a bunch of points.
Well, except Vanderbilt, right? So Missouri was even.
You can't.
If Vanderbilt's not even in the league. No. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
I'm not comparing any team to Vandy.
This scares me. This
is the one game I don't have a lean. I don't have a feel. I am as far away from this game as a person can be. I'm not going to touch it at all.
If I had to blind bet the game, I would take A&M. I think they've got more talent. I think they're a better team. Mississippi State's defense quietly playing really, really damn good. That 3-3-5 defense from Zach Arnett is
the defense is looking good. That's why I don't know, man. I want this Mississippi State thing to work out.
Well, absolutely, and I think you got time.
I love Mike Leach. I love this man.
I can understand it. Hey, let's talk about somebody else you love. Moving on, next game, Boston College and Virginia Tech. Now, this is a Saturday night game, 8:00 p.m. Eastern time on the ACC's network. Virginia Tech favored by 11.5 points right now. And my first thought, the total is 62 here. My first thought was, that is way too many damn points against Boston College.
Yeah.
However, once I started my deep dive into it, I said, ooh, hold on a second. Maybe not. If Virginia Tech's, if they get their guys back that they were missing last week against North Carolina, their lines are really, really good. Like, really good.
Yeah, I was very excited about BC in this game. I am now a complete stay away. I like Justin Fuente. They scare me on what they're doing. I originally liked the over when it opened, and we did the opening show Sunday night at 57.
Yeah, it's up to 62
Vegas
now.
Once again, these sports books getting very aggressive, trying to catch up, taking baths on all these overs, and now 63, long way from 57. I think I'm going to stand pat.
I can understand
this will be another game where I will watch a lot. I'm invested in seeing the outcome of this game, but I cannot wager on it. Right now.
I want to see where this line goes by Saturday. That's what I want to see.
My question is this: how big does it have to get for you to feel comfortable taking BC?
Well, what I'm curious about is maybe 13. If it hits 13 points, I'll probably take BC.
Now, how small does it have to get for you to feel real safe taking Vatech?
Anything under 10.
See, I don't think it's getting to either of those.
I don't think it is either. I think it's going to sit right here. But
I think it'll sit right here.
75% of the tickets are on Boston College right now, and the line's going up.
Yeah.
So
it's supposed to go up.
No,
that's right. It's moving backwards. Never mind. I did the math wrong.
It's supposed to go the other. So
I did the math wrong.
It's reverse line movement. That's what kind of terrifies me.
Yeah, they're better.
Hey, Keyjon Ward jumps in. Love the show, guys, all the way from Vegas. Hey, cheers to that. We love being out in your neck of the woods, my friend. And it's been too long now.
I'm ready for stuff to start opening back up.
I swear.
The shows come open. The restaurant's all open. I'm on the first thing smoking to Vegas.
You better believe it. All right, and we had guys, our boys in the back, you don't have to put up a graphic for this. We had some guys in the comments and guys that have tweeted us and whatnot, which, by the way, if you want to tweet at us, we'll talk about stuff on the show for you.
That's right.
Turtle wanted us to talk about Syracuse and Liberty. Liberty, a 3.5-point favorite. I don't feel great about Liberty. I know that that's your team. I know that you want Liberty to take over BYU and be the king of the independents aside from Notre Dame.
I think you're a long way from that.
I do think that. Liberty's,
they're good
this year.
They're not BYU good.
They're not that good this year. I think Syracuse with that 3-3-5 defense could absolutely confuse Malik Willis I'm curious about it.
Really, really interested to see, will that defense slow down Hugh Freeze's offense?
Yes, I will have Syracuse in my money line round robin.
They're definitely on the round robin. How much do I like them to make them a play? I like that the number's getting bigger.
Yeah. And then we had other guys tweet us, which, by the way, I'm at Gary WCE.
I'm at Chris B. Giannini.
So you can find us on Twitter. You can always DM us. Our DMs are open, all that good stuff. You can always reach out. We will do our best. Yeah, we'll talk to you. It's all good. We can sit and talk to Yak. Marshall -14 at Louisiana Tech. The number at Prediction Tracker says it should be closer to like 11. And while Marshall has vastly outplayed Louisiana Tech this year, there's more talent on Louisiana Tech's roster. So Marshall is the significantly better team, but 14 points on the road in Ruston?
It seems like a lot. This is another one where the line movement's a little fishy. It opened at 13.5. Everybody's betting on Louisiana Tech, and it's still getting bigger. It's now 14. I love Doc. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid with Marshall. I'm going to continue to ride them. I haven't given them every week as a pick. Financially, I've been backing them a lot, and they've done well. I should be picking them. I should be picking them more than I am.
Chad Nelson jumps in on YouTube. He said, I would still roll with Marshall -14.
Until I see them not beat the hell out of somebody.
Is that kind of the BYU thing?
Yeah, last week you're right. It was just keep betting BYU until you fall off. Last week, they got a little stymied, and now I'm not betting them, but I'm betting the over. Like, I still believe in them. I got still action on their game. It's a lot of the same.
There you go.
It's the same thing. It's just that's too well coached for a football team. That I think for some reason they're just underrated a lot.
I think you're probably right about that. All right, let's move into my official picks. We have kept you for long enough. We appreciate all of you that have jumped in and are leaving comments. Make sure you like the video, that you subscribe to the channel, you share it out, leave your comments. We like reading these comments. Make sure you leave your picks on here. We want to see what your opinions are on the games. So my official picks, I'm 23-15-1 so far this season. That is 60.53%. Here are my 7 picks for this week. I have got NC State -4 at home against Duke. I have got Pitt +10.5 on the road at Miami. The one thing that Pitt does really well is stop the run. The one thing that Miami has to have go well on offense is they have to be able to run the football to get the pass going at all. You saw Clemson shut it down. You see what happened. So I'm taking Pitt here. Cincinnati -3 at Tulsa. Styles make fights. You said that yourself. I believe it 100%. I think Cincy is a significantly better team. They will manhandle Tulsa in the trenches. Navy at East Carolina. I'm taking ECU +2.5. I think they win the game outright. I think that Houston Ahlers, their quarterback, is really good, and I think he will show up in this game in spades. Navy got a good win last week against Temple. It's time for them to come back down to the pack. We've already seen Navy's not a good football team. ECU, building up under Mike Houston. I think they win this game outright. Let's see, Virginia at Wake Forest. Wake Forest +3 at home. Goodness gracious, Dave Clawson as a home underdog, as an underdog, period. Really, really good. Wake Forest has won 3 straight against Virginia. I think it will continue this weekend, especially Virginia's quarterback looks like he's going to be out. He is day-to-day in the concussion protocol. So don't think he's going to be playing.
That's not good.
And Virginia did not look good last week when they got beat by NC State. So I've got 2 totals here. Louisville at Notre Dame. I'm going under 64 because I think that Notre Dame will shut down Louisville's offense. They have not been able to put anything together. So I'm rolling with that. Caliph Peso jumps in. What about ECU's defense? Will they be able to stop Navy? The one thing that ECU's defense is actually pretty good at is stopping the run. So, yeah, I think so. But Louisville and Notre Dame, I think, goes under 64. I think what you were talking about, the lines are inflated right now.
Yep.
Like, I'm going under there. And Kansas, West Virginia, over 51. Both of these defenses are trash. And while I expect that West Virginia will probably cover the 22-23, I also think that both offenses are going to look at this as an opportunity to get some points on the board to make their offenses look much better. I think it goes well over the 51, really without much resistance here. I think we could see a game into the 60s because I think West Virginia could score 40 by themselves on Kansas. All right. Moving into Chris's picks.
All right, my picks have been atrocious this year, but I'm going to give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
So if
right
you
now.
want to fade, this is your shot.
Do whatever the hell you want. It's free. You're getting your money's worth, by the way.
This is true.
You didn't pay anything for them. So good luck. All right. We're going to start Thursday night. I like SMU -6 against Tulane. I just do not understand this Tulane football team. I don't think they're a good football team, and I know they're not a complete team. They won't play a total 60 minutes of football, and therefore I think Sonny Dykes guys will. They're going to come out fired up, ready to play. They're going to be good. BYU Friday, Houston. I'm going to watch every second of this game. I got no feel for who I think will win it. I think whoever wins it covers, and that way I'm just going to bet on a lot of points. The books are trying to catch up. They're inflating these lines. This one's not enough. 62.5, not enough. Go over. Saturday, I know all the metrics say take Tulsa in this game. The metrics are wrong. They don't have enough data to prove, and the metrics can't judge how tough the boys are in the trenches right now for Cincinnati. Cincinnati -3 is the play there. I like Notre Dame -17 against Louisville. I don't think this Louisville team's very good. Last week, Notre Dame had a goal. Notre Dame was trying to get a last-minute touchdown to get that cover.
Yes.
Okay? Brian Kelly knows who pays the bills, all right? He understands. And Florida State's defense, goal line stand, stopped them. Louisville's defense isn't going to have that as an option because they're just not going to be able to play defense to stop this Notre Dame team. Not going to happen. Take Notre Dame, lay the big points. One more time into the drink with Ole Miss. I love this Ole Miss football team. I think they're the second best team in the SEC West. I do. I'm planting my flag on that. And A&M, find a way to beat them, and you can take it from them. But right now, nobody else looks anywhere close to as good as them outside of Alabama. And Arkansas is looking much more improved, getting much better every week. But until they can put up the kind of points you're going to have to put up against Lane Train, I don't see them being able to hang here. I get 2.5. This line is going down. It opened at 4. I loved it at 4. Crazy. My LSU Tigers +12. It's just a disrespectful number. They might lose this game. Florida's probably the better football team. That's fine. I'm not going to argue that. To make this a double-digit line is just not a right number. Give me the Tigers and the points. And my last bet might be the one I'm going to regret, but I got to have one more dog in there. I don't have enough dogs in this. I'm going to hold my nose. I'm going to take Mike Norvell and Florida State Seminoles. I think they're going to keep this thing close. I think they're getting better every week. And if they get better from last week, they'll cover this number.
Yeah, and you can get that, at 13.5?
13.5 is what I found it at.
Okay. Have you got any parlays?
No.
All right,
I can't pick one right.
I'm rolling through these very quickly. I know we've got guys that have jumped in and said, hey, you got to hurry. NFL's on. So we got to roll through this. It's not often that we have to deal with NFL on Tuesday night, but looks like hey, COVID season's a little strange. So with that said, move that microphone down. I have got a round robin, and basically these are moneyline underdogs that I like. It's 2-team parlays just split up between all the different teams, right? So I've got 5 teams here. We're going to have 10. Is that right? I believe that's how many it is. I've already bet this.
Talking about.
So we will have 10 parlays of 2 teams between these 5 teams. So
I don't ever do 5, so I don't know.
I've got Wake Forest. I've got South Carolina. I've got East Carolina. I've got Syracuse and UTSA as a 7-point home dog to Army. I think they can win the game outright. Army's quarterback looks like he's going to be out again this week, and they were atrocious last week against Citadel. Now, Citadel runs a triple option, all that good stuff, but UTSA looked pretty good so far this year. They can run the football. They can stop the run, and Lowell Narcisse, their quarterback, pretty damn good. 17 out of 20 last week. Former LSU guy. Moneyline parlay. I don't have a name for it this week, but this one is at +162 or somewhere around about. So this is what I would take. These teams just to win outright. All they got to do is win. Temple, Tennessee, Marshall, North Carolina. I think all 4 of those win outright. I don't know that they cover. I think all 4 of them win the game. You do that, you bet $10, you win back 16, 20, or whatever, roundabout. 7-point teaser right here. Wake Forest +10, South Carolina +11, Notre Dame -10, and Georgia +13. I don't see any way that Alabama beats Georgia by 2 touchdowns. I think that's absurd. And those 4 in a 7-point teaser is plus 200 odds. So bet $100, win 200, bet $10, win 20. All that good stuff. So is there anything else that we need to talk about?
That's it, brother.
That is it. Let's go watch some NFL football. You guys have been fantastic. Do us a favor. Like the show. Like the video. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we're going to be here all the time. We will be back here on Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern time to go over the closing lines. We're going to be knocking this thing out. It's going to be a good time. Good slate of football this weekend. We will talk about more games on the Closing Line show as well. Again, tweet us. Reach out to us. We'll talk with whatever games you want to talk about. We will talk with you about that. But make sure you like the video, subscribe, share the show out, and go over to sbrpicks.com/NCAAF. You can also go over to sbrpicks.com/pick6. That is PICK and the number 6, and enter in the contest. I mean, you can win up to $1,700 in cash prizes, man. So knock that thing out. Get yourself signed up. Go win some money with Sportsbook Review. And for sportsbookreview.com, I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And we will see you guys on Saturday morning.